Let's go with that. Nah.
Tried to make this video yesterday, but students came in, then the football team came in, then the cleaning guy came in, then I gave up and went home instead. Hey, what's up, man? You're good. Go ahead, you can grab it. Just wasn't going my way. I'll tell you, one of the things that's the most difficult thing about making videos for YouTube, making videos, especially at the end of the day, there's only certain days of the week that I can record, which is why I don't get to put out more content than I want to, because there's clubs in my room after school, or there's other teachers that are tutoring in my room after school. Like, our school doesn't have room for any extra space. We maximize every little location. So in that, there's only certain times that I get to shoot. So when I'm trying to do that, it's always at the end of my day. And at the end of the day, I mean, you guys know, it's, you know, sometimes you feel like you got run over by a truck, or like 10 things went wrong, or there's 100 other things to do. It's a constant balance of all that stuff. So I wanted to start off with that explanation. Now I'm going to talk about today's video. Sometimes videos are a reminder for myself more than I think they are a reminder for anyone else. So in speaking about this, I kind of feel like I'm making this video so I can just watch it back tonight when I'm editing it and listen to myself. I sometimes in my classroom overgeneralize things and look for negative experiences. And in doing so, I am actually stopping myself from having a better class. You know, this time of the year, I start getting a sense of like what classes are really project oriented, what classes can read alone by themselves, what classes need to read in small groups. Like, you start learning those nuances of your classes. So in doing that, I sometimes make choices where I will think, here's a really great project, here's a great idea, here's something really fun, here's someone I want to come in and have speak to my class. And then I think, I don't know if that class can handle it. They always act up. I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if they're going to take it seriously. Is my return on my investment going to be there? And these are things that start creeping into my consciousness. And then I wonder if I should just do it at all. Maybe I should just do this lesson instead. And in doing that, sometimes I end up having classes during the year that are just not as engaging or fun or awesome as other classes are, because I'm discounting them on the front end because I think I know everything about them. And to be fair, sometimes I do. Sometimes you just know certain kids and you know they're just going to try and ruin something, or they're not going to be engaged, or whatever. Like, it's not their jam, or they just don't like your class, right? Those things happen. What I would like to suggest, though, is that you do two things. And these are two things that I do, maybe three things. I don't know. There's a reason I teach English. 2 or 3 or possibly 4 things. That's what I want to talk about. When you're getting ready to teach a class, and you think that you're making your lesson plans up and you're not sure that they can handle it, I want you to just think about for a second, what would this look like if it was awesome? What would this look like? Like, literally sit down in a chair or wherever. I guess there's not a whole lot of other things to sit on. Could be a tree stump or a beanbag, but get your hippie self, put yourself in a beanbag, and just think about for a second, like, imagine what your class would look like if it was the best. What are you doing? What are the students doing? What are they doing when they come in? How are they interacting with one another? What does your classroom look like? What does it sound like? And think about those real details, like what exactly is going on? Who is working together? Where are they working? Are they laying on the floor? Are they sitting at a desk? Are they sitting at tables? Like, what's happening? And then I think what that does, just right there, it allows you to get a sense of what this could possibly be. Because I think most teachers, myself included, are often planning for the worst disastrous thing that could happen. Well, I'll make groups, but I can't put these 2 kids together because they're going to be a nightmare. Maybe we'll make these masks, but you know what? So-and-so is going to eat the feathers and they're going to get the glue all over the place, and you're planning for whatever's the worst. And that stuff might be true, but I think it's worth your time and effort to imagine what could possibly be good, because then you might start seeing some of that. And so there's an experiment that I read about recently. I want you to actually try this for a moment. I don't know where I picked this little experiment up along the way, but I did. And so if I'm not accrediting you and you're some big shot and you're watching my YouTube channel, well, first of all, don't forget to like and subscribe. Appreciate your support. But otherwise, I apologize, and I would accredit it if I could think of who did it. So here's what I want you to do. For 5 seconds, look around the room that you're in. And I want you to note everything in that room that's red. Anything. Could be a jacket, could be a decoration, could be a blinking light on your television or something like that, but anything that's red. 5 seconds, go. Now close your eyes. While your eyes are closed, I want you to think of anything in the room that was brown, right? I've done this a bunch of times. It is so difficult to think of something that's brown because you're looking for things that are red. So in our classrooms sometimes, when we think that class sucks or that no one cares or that no one's doing work or that no one's paying attention, in reality, is the entire class really not doing that thing? Or are they? So this is the experiment you do in class. Stand in a corner. Maybe the kids see you, maybe they don't. Not like a weirdo way. You don't want to like creep out of the bushes or something like that. But what you're doing is standing in a place after you've given an assignment. And then stand back. You know, some of the kids aren't going to be paying attention, but is it all of them? Or are there certain students that are at least trying to do the work or are just flat out doing the work? Then I would argue that the whole class isn't a nightmare. It's not a complete disaster, but there are some students that are trying. And so can you tip that number of students into the majority? So what I would do is touch base with all those kids, tell them they're doing a really good job, support them on what they're doing, sit down with them. Like if Tim's not doing his work or Kyle's not paying attention, forget Tim and Kyle for the moment. Just pay attention to the one student. I realize that was just really gender exclusive, but I teach all boys, so I forget girls go to school sometimes. You're forgetting the kids that are being an issue and you're sitting down with the students that are doing well and you're supporting them. You're pouring fuel on their fire. The next thing you want to do is look for kids that are kind of doing the work or did half of it before they started talking or whatever. But what you're looking for is someone that has clear potential. Then you go over to that student, you support them as well. And what you're doing is you begin tending to all the flowers in class and forgetting about the weeds. And I'm not trying to say that students are weeds, because really weeds are, it's just an agreed upon plant that no one really likes. But sometimes weeds are love. This is a weird metaphor. I'm not saying that some kids should be thrown out. What I'm saying is if you can get the majority of the class on the side of doing the work, of being excited, of being willing and active participants in your class, you have a much greater ability to have almost everyone, right? And then you're thinking about class in a different way. Now you're planning for better things because you shifted the way that you look at things. Another quick point I'd like to make is Mr. Rogers one time said, Mr. Rogers, for those of you that don't know, is like one of my favorite heroes of all time. So I don't remember this story entirely, but I remember enough of it to benefit you. Mr. Rogers saw something terrifying happen either in life or on television, I forget, when he was a kid. When he went to his parents and told them what had happened and how scared he felt, they reminded him to look for the helpers. And so Mr. Rogers on his show used to ask students to do the same thing or ask kids to do the same thing. That when something scary is happening, even if you're watching the news and there was a plane crash or a building, something happened or someone was killed, what you're doing is you're looking not just at the horrific scene itself, you're looking around at all the people that are there to help, all the people that are there giving. And I think that in class, just as in life, sometimes if we decide to look at those positive things, then we start noticing more positive things. When you start looking for brown or for green or for yellow and not just for red, you start noticing more of those colors. And this isn't some kind of woo-woo trick where it's like, I'm not saying like we're manifesting awesomeness, which maybe we are, but I'm not good enough to be able to know if that's true or not. What I do know though is that we often see what we're looking for. And as teachers, when we're trying to inspire students, it might behoove us to stop giving all of our time and energy to the black holes of the classroom, meaning we're not just giving the kids that want all the attention. Instead, we're looking for those kids that are kind of trying to do the work or are doing the work, and we're helping them just as much as we're giving attention to anybody else in the classroom. I have one more point to make, and well, it might be a downer. One of my favorite movies ever is a movie called As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson. And in the movie, Jack Nicholson plays this character who has severe OCD, like can't leave his house sort of OCD. And during the movie, a bunch of revelations come up, and it causes him to have this one scene where he's walking out of a psychiatrist's office and he stops and looks at everyone in the lobby that's waiting there to see the doctor as well. And he just says,
Thank you very much.
What if this is as good as it gets?
Oh.
Like, I love that idea because although I love hope, I love optimism, I love positivity, sometimes things are just gonna stay the way that they are. Like Philly at this time of the year is not getting any warmer. There's not gonna be any more sunlight. I'm not getting any taller. I'm not getting any younger. What if for certain places in your life, including your classroom, what if this is as good as it gets? You're not waiting for admin to change something. You're not waiting for a room change. You're not waiting for your own room. You're not waiting for anything. What if you had to enter into the rest of the work this year and this is quite possibly as good as it gets? How does that shift how you do your job? And so several years ago, when I started teaching in West Philadelphia, I had a class that I've talked about before, but it was the football team and the basketball team they put in the same room, in this windowless cellar room in the basement of the school. And that was my class every day. It was like 30 some kids. They were all giants because they were sports guys. It was all that testosterone, all that pumped up energy, and they had zero idea who I was. It was the worst class I've ever taught in my life because I couldn't control it. So what it becomes is, what happens if you stop trying to control it? What if you just started to dance with the madness, right? So Tony Robbins has this whole idea where, like, if you are being tugged around by fear, what happens if you start just moving with the fear, right? You're not being drug around with it, but you're almost kind of like following it willingly. And then what does that look like? And I think what that looks like in the classroom is you stop trying to control the entire situation. You stop thinking about what anyone else is going to think about your class. And you think, if this is as good as it gets, what can I do to make this class survivable this year, or in the least, right? So like the bottom would be, how do I survive this? The best being, how can I just try and crush this class? And so in trying to think about how you can make it better, how you can actually teach, how the kids can actually learn, like what would you be able to do? What would you have to do that? I just think that's worth thinking about. And so for me, sometimes it's not moving everyone's seat every 5 seconds. It's not just giving up and giving them quiet work to do in class. But what if they were radically different? Like if that class is burning down to the ground anyway, what could you do that's like, all right, you guys don't want to do this work? What if we're outside? What if we go on a trip? What if I have someone come in and speak? What if we watch something instead of read something today, and then we still break down the imagery, the setting, the climax, like all these literary things are still there, but we're watching something instead of reading something today. What if we just had a day where we just talked about stuff? Like, who are you? What are you about? So what you're doing is challenging yourself to think outside of the box to figure out what would work with those particular students. And that's gonna be different for every class. You know, the beauty and the hardship of having my channel get bigger and bigger is that more eyes are on me, and so I get a lot more feedback in terms of like, this doesn't work for my class, or I could never do that, or I could never get away with what you're saying. My goal isn't ever to have an answer that works for everyone. Like I can't. I've never worked in Germany or South Africa or Nebraska, but I just know that muscle is the same. That thinking outside of the box muscle is the same. So what happens, what works in my room, what might be different than what works in your room. And I just think that the more you exercise that muscle of thinking outside the box, of trying to be creative, of trying to keep positive, of trying to look for those students around you that are just doing good work despite the madness, it pours fuel on our fire, on that fire that you have inside of you that helps you to go on and do a better job tomorrow. All right, before we go, I just want to see who's in the hallway and see what's going on today. Ham, what was your favorite TV show when you were a little kid?
Favorite TV show? Avatar: Last Airbender.
All right, that was a nerdy show. What was your favorite
Watch your
song
mouth.
in like 5th grade?
Can I skip that question?
No.
Favorite song in 5th grade was it was pretty cringy. Reynolds. Do I have?
All right, yes, what was it?
It was called Night Court Deception.
What was your favorite show when you were a little kid?
The Misadventures of Billy and Mandy.
Regular show.
What year was that? 8th grade.
Blackstreet. No diggity. No doubt.
Let's go with that.
The Boondocks, Justin Bieber.
Which song?
What is it called? Him and Ludacris.
Can you sing a few bars from that?
Nah. Nah.
All right, Rufo, what's your favorite show from when you were a little kid?
Probably Hey Arnold.
That was really your favorite song?
No diggity, no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, remember ringback tones?
Yeah.
I used to have that as my ringback tone.
On his razor.
You two are so old. What's a ring?
I'm way older. Favorite show when I was a little kid was the original Batman show. Or G.I. Joe. Favorite song, anything by Huey Lewis and the News. That was it. The back.
Give us a little example.
I don't think I'm gonna do that right now. No. All right.